Yo, what's cracking everyone? Ericship 111 here, and today we're going to be looking back at the original car list that was leaked in Forza Horizon 4 back in early 2018. It's very interesting to see how the car list has changed since launch, but the leaked car list that I'll be showing in today's video also holds some strong credibility to it as well. Cars like the Porsche LH917, which only was released last month, the Unimog and the Koenigsegg Agera RS were all on this list as well, suggesting that whatever cars these data miners have found in the early files of Horizon 4 could potentially still be in there ready for release sometime in the future. This list will also include some very interesting cars, including unreleased Horizon Edition cars, which was what they were still naming them back then. And in today's video, we'll be looking at 9 epic cars still hidden or removed from the final game of Forza Horizon 4. Number 1, the 2004 BMW M3 Formula Drift. So according to the leaked list, this was the only Formula Drift car that ended up being omitted from the final game. The rest, which were also seen on the leaked list, obviously made it. Now, going through some research on Google, this was the only 2004 BMW Formula Drift car that really matched the name title. It was known as Mike S's 2004 BMW M3. With a fairly basic orange and white livery scheme on the outside, it actually looks quite subtle. Maybe a front body kit with some aftermarket side skirts. It's of course the interior and the engine is what makes this drift car stand out. With the interior fully stripped out, rocking the bare minimum, the engine itself is fairly remarkable, producing 750 brake horsepower from a turbocharged S54 M3 engine. I wonder why this didn't end up making it into the final game. Number 2, the 2012 Infiniti IPL G Coupe. Also known as the Nissan Skyline 370 GT, the last 2 times we have seen this in a Horizon game was in Horizon 3 and the original Horizon back on the Xbox 360. Now, a few reasons as to why I believe this car didn't make it into Horizon 4 is possibly because, well, the Nissan 370Z is in the game. They both share the same engine, but the Infiniti is more of a Grand Tourer, so apart from the engine, they are both very different vehicles. With a modest 350 brake horsepower and a rear-wheel drive layout, this is a perfect everyday sports car that should be in the final game of Horizon 4, but we will see if it will end up being in the game in the future. I certainly hope so. Number 3, the Lamborghini Sesto Elemento Horizon Edition. Ah yes, that's correct, you heard it right. A Horizon edition of the Lamborghini Sesto Elemento. Now, the interesting thing is that the leaked list has also shown actual Forza edition cars that are in the final game, like the Aston Martin Vulcan, Lamborghini Aventador, and the Pagani Zonda R. So I'm curious as to what skill was boosted with the Sesto Elemento. How will it look aesthetically? It's all speculation as no one has actually seen the Horizon edition of this car except for the developers, but if it was up to you, how would you guys make the Sesto Elemento a special Forza edition car? Number 4, the 1973 Mazda RX3. One of the coolest Mazdas to ever exist. The last time we ever saw this in a Horizon game was back in the original Horizon game on the Xbox 360. However, on the current gen consoles, it has actually appeared in every motorsport game from 5 through to 7. There's probably a few reasons why Playground Games didn't put this into the final game. One is that the car only does have around 110 brake horsepower, which in the world of Horizon 4 is quite low, so they might have thought no one would drive it. But then again, there's slower and less popular cars in the game as well. And number 2, its rival, the Nissan Skyline, is also already in the game as a much better and faster option. But can you imagine just putting the 2.6 litre 4-rotor engine in this RX3 that weighs less than 1,000 kilograms? I would imagine it to be one of the most fun and entertaining cars you can drive. Number 5, the 2018 Porsche GT2 RS Horizon Edition. So here's the second removed Forza or Horizon Edition car. Again, no information has ever been leaked apart from it being in the game files, but given with what the car is, I would assume it will be very similar to a Pagani Zonda R or the Aston Martin Vulcan. Again, I would like to ask you, how would you make the Porsche GT2 RS Forza Edition vehicle? Personally, I would make it a drift boost car since Porsches are quite difficult to drift in given that their engines are situated at the back of the car. All the weight will push down onto their rear wheel drive layout, giving it a lot more traction. Almost essentially juxtapositioning the skills to what the car is designed to do, which will make it an extremely interesting Forza Edition car to test out. Number 6, the 2011 HSV VE GTS. The last naturally aspirated HSV to ever roll out from factory, it is the generation before the current HSV GTS that is in the game. Powered by 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 known as the LS3, producing 437 brake horsepower, it is a very fun and exciting car to drive. But perhaps given the setting of Forza Horizon 4 being set in Britain, these cars are most certainly not very common in that part of the world. So I would assume that the car was removed in order to be replaced with another car that is more suitable to Great Britain. But of course, being an Australian, I am a little biased to Australian cars, and I would most certainly love to see just a smidgen more HSVs in the game. Number 7, the 2014 Tesla Model S. So we have seen two different Tesla models in Forza Horizon 2 and Forza Horizon 3, and given that the inclusion of a few more electric-only cars like the Rimac Concept 2 and Volkswagen IDR making its Forza franchise debut on Horizon 4, the Tesla was the original electric car to ever make it into any Horizon title. However, since there has been major licensing issues with Tesla, Playground Games will not be able to bring them back into Horizon 4. Even though it was found in the leaked car list, whether Tesla is actually in the hidden game files and simply locked at this point until there is an agreement between the two parties, it's entirely possible, but at this point I doubt any residual files would remain in the final game as we speak in case somebody ends up leaking it, which will then cause Playground Games to be in some serious trouble. Number 8, the Mercedes-AMG ONE. Here's the first of two very unique cars that were found on the list. Considering the final version of these cars have yet to be released, maybe these are just spots reserved for the car when they actually get released. Or they could very well be concept vehicles that was going to be released in the game, similar to when the Ford GT was released in Forza Motorsport 6. A lot of the real life figures were estimations, but the shape and interior were all designed relatively identical to the final production model. With its chassis built around a Formula 1 car, I wouldn't mind seeing a race bred car like this in Forza Horizon 4. Maybe this was supposed to be the substitution to the racing cars we got back in Horizon 3, but I would also assume that final amendments or licenses to these concept cars weren't final, which didn't allow Playground Games to actually put them in the game when it got launched. And lastly, number 9, the Aston Martin Valkyrie. Here is the rival to the Mercedes-AMG ONE, another race-bred car that is still not in its final production, which of course means if they were to put it in the video game like Horizon 4, it's all quite conceptual. And given a car like the Valkyrie requires so much engineering and money to build, I guess why perhaps a concept car like this that's sort of in its process of moving towards the end of the project would want it to be completely released first before it appears in a video game. My assumption would also be that Playground Games have reached out to both Aston Martin and Mercedes, as both companies love being in the Forza franchise and have tried to gain licenses to these hyper-track cars, but as for now, I guess it's just been put on hold. So there we have it guys, 9 epic cars that are still hidden or cut from the final game. I'll put a link to the leaked list down in the description below, just so you guys can have a look at the entire list. If there are any other cars that you have found interesting that would like to see a return to Horizon 4, make sure to write it down in the comment section below. I do read your comment, guys. Anyways, if you guys did find this video enjoyable, please make sure to smash the thumbs up button. That would really help me out. And also, if you guys would like to see more Forza Horizon 4 content right here on this channel, make sure to click the subscribe button with notifications turned on. That way you won't ever miss out on another video that goes live. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.